I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today to show support for Family Preservation Foundation and Stop CPS from illegally kidnapping children. We're down here at the 8th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, and oral arguments were held today in relation to our lawsuit on whether or not our association has standing to sue for all of the violations against all of the parents here and all of the citizens of Minnesota as it relates to the laws of child protection. Child welfare should be looking at protecting the children and their families and strengthening the families, and that's what our lawsuit is about. We'd like the seizure of our children to stop. We'd like the parents to be respected. We'd like due process. And if our children are removed based upon allegations, the social workers should be required to substantiate those allegations at law, as required, at trial within 60 days. Today's oral arguments were spot on. We thought they were excellent. The judges asked it fantastic questions against Dakota County when they knew about the incidents that took place and the laws and even their own 8th Circuit decisions. So once again, I'm very happy for the turnout. Thank you everyone for coming down and supporting Stop CPS from illegally kidnapping children. And I'm going to turn it over to Eric Cardell now, who gave our oral arguments and did a fantastic job. Let's hear it for Eric, everybody. Yay!
Thanks, Dwight. Well, thank you. Today is a historic day for the Family Preservation Foundation. We just completed oral argument in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit. As we all know, this isn't going to be a sprint, it's going to be a marathon, and this was a big step forward for us, and particularly for these reasons. One is there's cultural rot in Minnesota right now caused by the Department of Human Services. The Department of Human Services has standards which say that government can seize your child for nothing. For disciplining a child, just causing fear, an ordinary spanking, ordinary sort of things that the government says are neglect. The standard is unconstitutionally low. The Department of Human Services is using a definition of family that's foreign to Minnesotans. Minnesotans believe that the biological parents, the adoptive parents, the guardians have a right to possess their child. Department of Human Services says we can take your child anytime we want, except the Department of Human Services, when they're represented by the Attorney General's office, don't tell the truth. They say no, our child abuse standard is reasonable. We only take children from parents when there's child abuse. But we investigated the statutes. And when you look at the statutes, you read them, they put in all the elements of crimes like malicious punishment, assault, battery in his child abuse, but they left out the defense that a parent can do those things to discipline a child. A parent can grab a child who's running into a street full of cars. A parent can spank a child, like a teacher in Minnesota, to correct the child. All these things are allowed, and even the state of Minnesota, when the pressure's on in court, says those things should be allowed. But when they're actually doing the cases, they're seizing your children for doing nothing. Nothing.
That's right.
This is horrific. These parents behind me in one way have been affected by these laws. Either they've temporarily lost their children or they've permanently lost their children. Who is advocating for them?
Nobody.
Is Child Protection Services trying to reunite these families?
No.
Is the Attorney General's office trying to unite your families?
No.
Is the legislature trying to unite your families?
No.
Is Governor Walz trying to unite your families?
No.
So that's where we're at. No one cares about you. No one cares that the government swiped your children without cause. No one cares. No one cares that the statutes authorize the swiping of children without cause. No one cares. No one cares, and that's why Dwight, when he came across this, he started the Family Preservation Foundation, because now someone cares. I mean, it's so odd, isn't it? So odd that I'm here, Dwight's here. In one way, we're all state court losers, right? Well, we all lost in state court one way or another. We lost our children temporarily or permanently. You know, we're losers. But we're going to become winners by winning this case and the next case and the next case. And this is really important for everyone to understand, that in these associational claims, we're representing all the parents in Minnesota who've wrongfully lost their children to CPS. Every one of them. And if we win this case, that the standards are unconstitutionally low, what has to happen? Just like in a criminal matter, right? If someone's incarcerated and the law is found to be unconstitutional, we don't leave those people in prison, do we?
No.
What we do is we go into each of those cases and we say, open it up because there is an unconstitutional standard. So the same thing with these CPS cases. CPS, you've been relying on an unconstitutionally low standard for a decade. All these children who have been separated from their parents, those cases need to be reopened and looked at because you used an unconstitutionally low standard. It's time we start treating children better than our convicts. Right. And the convicts should be treated well too. But the point is that we are on the side of freedom, we're on the side of liberty, and we caught Minnesota Child Protection Services violating Dwight's rights, your rights, and all the parents' rights at one time, and the state legislature is an accomplice, the governor is an accomplice, the attorney general is an accomplice, the county attorneys are an accomplice. They're all accomplices, and we showed in court that they are not telling the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, I have great confidence in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, in the federal courts, that they're going to straighten this out. They're great judges. They do a good job. They've got the facts, they got the law, and the facts and the law on our side. So we'll wait to see what happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Woo! Thank you, everybody, for coming out.